I'm Elizabeth Mason, and this is my informative speech on dyslexia, inspired by my son Tate, and my husband Bruce is also in the audience. What did the light bulb, the telephone, the theory of relativity, the Sistine Chapel, Mickey Mouse, and Captain Underpants all have in common? They were all the work of dyslexic minds. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly how many people are affected with dyslexia, but it's estimated between 10 and 20% of the population, and is the most common learning disability. Dyslexia is not a sign of low intelligence, but rather a unique mindset that is often gifted and productive. Dyslexics process language information differently than the average mind. Today I will explain what dyslexia is, debunk some of the myths associated with it, share the signs and symptoms to look for in children, and offer ways parents and professionals can support children with dyslexia. So, what is dyslexia? Let's begin by establishing what it is not. Dyslexic learners are not below average intelligence. They do not have a lack of motivation, poor vision, and they are not lazy. It is a common condition that affects the way the brain processes written and spoken words. It is often referred to as a reading disorder, but dyslexic learners also struggle with other language-based skills such as writing, spelling, speech development, word recognition, foreign languages, grammar, and organization. The most significant thing to note about dyslexia is that it does not equate to an individual's intelligence level. Simply stated, very intelligent, talented, and accomplished individuals can be dyslexic. For example, Albert Einstein, Pablo Picasso, Leonardo da Vinci, Steven Spielberg, Walt Disney, and Agatha Christie all were said to be dyslexic. Furthermore, dyslexia comes with such gifts as creativity, imagination, entrepreneurial success, and athleticism, which is where the stereotype of the dumb jock may have come from. Speaking of stereotypes, let's look at many of the misconceptions and myths regarding dyslexia. First, one of the most common myths is that children with dyslexia see letters and numbers backwards. This is not true. In fact, many children who are beginning to read and write reverse letters and words. While dyslexic children struggle to name and recognize letters and words, there is no evidence that they see things backwards. Dyslexia has nothing to do with vision. A second misconception is that dyslexia can be outgrown. Dyslexia is a lifelong condition, but with learned skills and techniques, dyslexics can learn to cope and even improve their ability to read, write, and spell. A third myth is that when a child has dyslexia, having them repeat a year in school will help them mature and develop their reading skills. Unfortunately, I have firsthand experience with this myth. When my son Tate was in kindergarten, his teacher, while well-meaning, suggested he repeat the grade. Unfortunately, Tate's neurologist, my husband, and myself were able to convince her that this course of action would not be beneficial to Tate, but would instead lower his self-esteem. Dyslexic learners do not need another year of the same instruction, but rather intervention and modifications to their learning style. The final myth I will share with you is that teachers know the warning signs of dyslexia and can alert parents if their child is showing symptoms. Unfortunately, most teachers are not trained about the symptoms and signs of dyslexia. There are so many types of learning disabilities, it would be impossible for a teacher to be able to be an expert and identify them all. Therefore, when a child is struggling with language-based skills, it is essential for the child that parents take an active role in receiving a diagnosis and working with teachers to put a course of action in place. So what are the signs and symptoms of dyslexia? Symptoms look different in each child with dyslexia because the severity of it varies. Some may have a few of the symptoms, other children may have them all. Some dyslexics have trouble telling their right from their left. Some have trouble in conversation and struggle to find the right words. For my son, for instance, he struggles with reading, writing, and remembering. For instance, as a fourth grader, he still cannot recall the days of the week in order, a dyslexic characteristic he shares with Albert Einstein. When reading, he struggles with simple words such as this, were, is, and he has difficulty matching letters to their sounds, most notably B's and D's. When he was young, he would say, "I'm not a good rememberer." Before his diagnosis, his father and I fell into the trap of thinking his ability to remember was laziness, because this was a kid who could list every superhero, their alias, their powers, and their nemesis, but he struggled to remember the number 16 when counting to 20 and was unable to match colors with their names and could not identify most of the letters in the alphabet. Many children occasionally struggle with a few of these things, but they quickly outgrow it. Dyslexics do not. Once signs and symptoms are noticed, it is important to receive a diagnosis of dyslexia. There is no single test to diagnose it. For our son, it involved a lengthy evaluation process with a neurologist. There is no cure or quick fix for dyslexia, but there are ways to encourage and support these learners. Open communication between parents and teachers is key. Schools have resources available to assist children who need it in reading, writing, and speech. Another way to help a dyslexic child is to read to them or listen to audiobooks. Listening to books allows the children to concentrate on the sounds of the words and the details of the story without the pressure and struggle that reading normally brings them. I'm not saying that they never read anymore, but listening to a story would be in addition to reading. Next, seek out help. Tutors are available who specialize in assisting dyslexic learners using the Orton-Gillingham method. Finally, the best piece of advice for parents of dyslexic children is to focus on the effort, not the outcome. Encourage the journey and take baby steps. A diagnosis of dyslexia does not mean a lifetime of failure. Dyslexic learners are not slow, dumb, or lazy. They are bright with gifts and talents all their own. Having dyslexia is not without its challenges, but it is just one area of difficulty in a sea of strengths. Actor Orlando Bloom advises those with dyslexia, take this obstacle and make it a reason to have a big life. Thank you.